Ladies and gentlemen, a new version of Minecraft has been released. Here is version 1.13 of the Bedrock Edition. If you don't know which edition that is the one that runs on Xbox One, on the Nintendo Switch, on mobile devices, and the one you can buy from Windows 10 store. This version contains some missing features that were added in previous versions of the Java Edition and a brand new character creator, as well as a whole load of bug fixes. My name is slicedlime. I'm here to take you on a guided tour through the changes in Minecraft Bedrock Edition 1.13, starting with additions and the changes to blocks and items. Suspicious stew has been added. It is a new food item that can be crafted like mushroom stew but with an added flour. Depending on which flour you add, you get a different effect. Once crafted, the effect of the suspicious stew is not listed anywhere, making it somewhat suspicious. The flowers you can add are allium for fire resistance, azure bluey for blindness, blue orchids or dandelions for saturation, cornflowers for jump boost, lilies of the valleys for poison, oxeye daisies for regeneration, poppies for night vision, tulips for weakness, and wither roses for withering. And note that the duration of the effect is somewhat lower than on Java Edition. And on the topic of flowers, there's one in there that you might not have recognized. That is the wither rose, a newly added flower. It does not generate naturally with the world, and you cannot grow it with bone meal. However, when a wither kills any mob, a wither rose will be planted at that location. It can be used to craft black dye, but it also has an effect when planted. Any mob that steps into the block with the wither rose will get a wither 1 effect. Using bone meal on a flower now generates more flowers of that type around it rather than just dandelions and poppies. A change to an existing block: item frames can now be placed not only on walls but also on floors and on ceilings. Note blocks have been extended as well. The block below can now be several new blocks for new sounds, those sounds being glowstone for a pling effect like an electric piano, hay bales for a banjo sound, emerald blocks for a square wave bit sound, pumpkins for a didgeridoo, soul sand for a cowbell sound, a block of iron for an iron xylophone or a vibraphone sound, bone block for a xylophone sound, wool block for a guitar sound, packed ice for a chime, clay for a flute, or a block of gold for a bell sound. If you break a jukebox, that will now stop playing the music. There's more additions as well. Dead coral has been added. It's a dead variant of coral that you get when you place coral on a surface that doesn't have contact to water, and that it gets placed on top of blocks. Wood blocks or bark blocks now have proper directional placement. Netherwort now has a chance to drop more items when broken with a fortune tool. And fully damaged elytras now have a unique texture. Let's move on to mobs. 2 new mobs have been added to this version that have been added previously to the Java Edition. And in addition to that, there are a boatload of tweaks and bug fixes with mobs. Let's start with the new ones. Foxes have finally made it to Bedrock Edition. Red foxes will spawn in snowless taiga biomes, and snow foxes can spawn in snowy taiga biomes. You can breed them by feeding them sweet berries if you get close enough, and the newborn fox resulting from that breeding will trust you and defend you. Foxes normally sleep or rest during the day and will come out and be active at night. They can pick up and carry items in their mouths, and if that item is a food item, they may sometimes eat it. They can also drop it and switch it for another item. Wolves and polar bears don't like foxes, they will attack them, and foxes in turn hunt for chickens. The other added mob in this version is the brown variant of the mushroom. A red mushroom can convert into a brown mushroom when struck by lightning. They are the same as the red mushrooms with one exception. If you feed them a flower and then use a bowl to harvest them, then you will get suspicious stew, and that suspicious stew will be of the kind that flower would give if crafted. Let's move on to tweaks and bug fixes with mobs. Dolphins will now once again follow you when you row around in a boat. Villagers will now sleep correctly at night, but if a player attempts to sleep in the same bed, that will now succeed and kick the villager out. Farmers now correctly harvest crops when their inventory is not full as well, and any villager with bread inside of their inventory can now heal. Villager trade levels have been changed to match the Java edition with 5 professional level badges, and cured zombie villagers will now keep their trade level. Number of the actual trades have also been changed to match Java edition. Finally, on the topic of villagers, they now hide more consistently during raids. And speaking of raids and pillagers, patrols can now spawn in any biome except for mushroom fields. And the delay for spawning patrols has been increased to 10 to 11 minutes from 5 to 6 minutes. Pillagers now also spawn more frequently around pillager outposts, and if an illager captain dies in combat with a player, that player will now correctly receive the bad omen effect. For raids, Ravagers can now pathfind through water, and the raiders now have a celebration event that occurs if they successfully raid a village. For other hostile mobs, zombies can once again spawn in caves, and they can no longer break iron doors. Drowned despawning rules have changed to help prevent too many drowned being present in the world at the same time. The new despawn rules are that the player is at least 54 blocks away, and that the drowned has not performed any actions in the last 30 seconds, and that it's daytime. Creeper no longer lose you as a target when you just break line of sight very briefly. And mobs can now pathfind correctly through waterlogged blocks. Drops have been changed too, so mobs once again drop armor and equipment as loot, and they will no longer drop fully repaired items as loot. And a final change to spawning, squids can now spawn in rivers. Gameplay changes. Let's start with a boom on the topic of TNT. TNT no longer falls through blocks when lit, and you can now craft TNT from red sand in addition to normal sand. Players in water are also now knocked back by TNT explosions. Explosions also no longer destroy and drop and the gateway blocks. Split screens players that join a world will now spawn in the correct safe place and no longer spawn into the void. The alternative stone types, granite, diorite and andesite, can no longer be smelted into smooth stone. And on the topic of smelting, players now receive stored experience points from furnaces when taking out items properly. Eating while using another portal will no longer cause you to teleport to a random location, and if you eat a coarse fruit, then you can now teleport on top of non-full or transparent blocks. There was an issue that prevented you from moving while sneaking on top of a shulker or a boat that has been fixed in this version, and you can once again open your inventory correctly while sitting in a boat. If you open your inventory while rowing the boat, then you will now stop rowing. And the camera will now rotate correctly in third-person view. Arrows will now destroy armor stands properly, and enchanted books with 3 or more enchantments will no longer always have Feather Falling 4 and or Blast Protection 4. Lightning from channeling tridents now affect more than a single mob in a small area, and on the topic of lightning in thunderstorms now strike less frequently. Let's talk about some changes to redstone related things. Hoppers will now pick up items from above properly. Pistons have gotten the correct texture regardless of which direction they're placed. Fire charges launched from dispensers will now ignite minecarts with TNT in them. And dispensers now place boats correctly. Finally, on the topic of dispensers, water being dispensed from a dispenser will no longer be able to break end portals or gateways. Couple of changes to the world generation. Abandoned or zombie villages have been added. They now have the village and pillage architecture just like in Java edition. In addition to that, there was a bug in desert temples where chests would face the wrong direction. That has been fixed in this version. Let's talk about achievements. There's one new achievement in this version. It is called Time for Stew, for giving someone a suspicious stew. Some other achievements were broken and have been fixed. They are We Are Being Attacked, I've Got a Bad Feeling About This, and Renewable Energy. The Where Have You Been achievement didn't used to work on Android. That has now been fixed as well. Final related change, maps are now drawn more quickly when you are exploring, meaning that the map room achievement now unlocks more consistently. For visual fixes, the player alignment with beds when sleeping has been fixed, and the player model is now again visible when sleeping on a bed. When you exit water, then the player's sprint or swim state has been fixed and flowers no longer become invisible when inside of flower pots. For user interface fixes, the big one is of course the new character creator. You can get into that as you used to be able to get into the skin picker, except the little clothes hanger icon has been changed to say profile. Once in there, you have the ability to edit your character, to change a whole load of pieces of yourself, including your base style, hair, eyes, mouth, facial hair, arms, legs, and your size, and the style of all kinds of things like your top and bottom outerwear, headwear, gloves, footwear, face items, or back items. There are a whole bunch of different pieces included, and you can also get more from the Minecraft marketplace if you so wish. If you'd rather use your old skin, they are still available as a tab with 3 little skinned characters. Click there and you'll get to your classic skins. If you want to use your own custom skins, you can go into owned and then import and choose new skins. However, do note that the skins that you import from a file from your computer will not sync between devices or games. Another new addition is the credits. Bedrock Edition finally has credits that you can see after killing the Ender Dragon with a whole boatload of patience because it moves extremely slowly. It is also somewhat out of date, but hey, it does exist. You can also access these credits from the settings menu under Profile and the Credits button. More user interface changes. Players can now switch between user accounts on the Xbox One without restarting the game. There are some tweaks for accessibility, for color and contrast fixes to drop-downs, buttons, and the play screen. And the chat instructions will no longer appear on the screen every time you travel through a portal. Technical changes, a bunch of those in this version as well. One major one, you can now tab complete writing coordinates in commands. There's a new block, it's the light block for map makers. It has light level 0 to 15 as auxiliary data, and you can get that by using the /give, /fill, or /set block command. That means that the invisible and raw debugged block that was variant 6 is now out of the game. It is automatically updated to the new light block when you load a world. The execute detect command now uses local coordinates correctly, and the spread players command no longer causes distant chunks to be permanently loaded. /clear command once again works correctly when you have damageable items involved, and you can no longer use the /spawn point command inside of the nether. The type selector argument will now work correctly for the @s selector again. In addition to that, as usual, there are changes to behavior and resource packs, and the new templates for these can be downloaded from a link where you can quickly get there from aka.ms/Minecraft add-ons. One thing to note here is that pack manifests have changed to version 2, so if you're working on any behavior packs or resource packs, you should update these. All the details about what has changed are available in the official changelog. There are some more technical changes hidden behind the experimental gameplay toggle. They are a new block for structure void, which you can use together with structure blocks to mark a block that should not be included as air. If you're wondering more about the structure void, you can look them up from Java Edition. They work exactly the same way, but they have a unique texture on Bedrock. With this, the structure blocks have also been improved greatly. All of the details of this as well are available in the official changelog. And those were some of the major changes in Minecraft Bedrock Edition 1.13. There were also tons and tons and tons of tiny little bug fixes, which would take far too long to all go through in this video. If you want the full details, then look up the page on the Minecraft wiki for this version, or check out the official changelog. You can find links to both of those in the video description. Thank you very much for joining me for this tour of this update. My name is slicedlime. I hope you found it enjoyable, and if you did, please help me out in return, leave a like and share it with your friends. If you want to stay up to date with all the latest Minecraft news, then please subscribe to my channel where I do update videos for every new snapshot, pre-release or release of Minecraft. This has been slicedlime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.